if all of your norms are the way to get rich is to just make short-term bets, you actually may know more people in your real life that made money from short-term bets than long-term bets.
Yes. Look at the 20 software companies that you respect the most. Tell me which one of those blew up super fast. Which one was like, they made it in a year? None. And I'm like, what does that mean? All right, this is Dalton plus Michael, and we're going to talk about some advice for young people now that we are in this AI era.
Yeah.
This is the AI era, right?
Yeah, we're in the AI era. It's hard to name the era when you're in it, but we're in it. Yeah, we're in it.
I'm going to set this up, Dalton. I'm going to give you the controversial first thing to bounce off of. Super intelligent is imminent. We might be entering the, end of days. How much of the pre-A advice even applies anymore? I'm a young person, are we not in a break glass in case of emergency zone where I need to ignore everything and just go nuts, start my company, do whatever I'm going to do. It's like time is of the essence.
I mean, look, in some ways, time is of the essence in that if you're paying attention to what's going on and you're learning the tools and you're in the right place at the right time, it's a really good move. And so there actually is an argument that being strategic about what you spend time on, who you spend time on, what you learn is smart.
Especially in the beginning of an era,
right?
You get a lot of extra juice if you're early on a skill set in the beginning of an era,
right? Yeah. So that is totally true. And you should think about that. And we can talk about that in a second. In addition though, I think there's something about doomsday culture. I don't know what you want to call it, but there's something about kind of pseudo-religious stuff that gets people going, that they just happen to be alive in the time that the world is going to end. And that if they do a good thing, then they'll be rewarded for it. And then everyone else is in trouble.
Yeah, this rhymes with some things in humans past. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds familiar, right? And certainly, let me try to steel man a little bit. Certainly I've talked to people that believe that they have a short window to try to make their way in the world and make money before AGI happens, and that it'll be much harder in a post-AGI world for them to be set up. I'm trying to steel man that argument, but I've heard people make it.
Yes.
Can you make a better version of that, or did I make the best version?
I mean, I do think there's this kind of argument that if AGI exists, does the startup world still exist?
I don't think it's just startups. I think it's everything. I've spoken to try to steel man. I've spoken to folks that are drop out of college. They're not teaching you anything that's useful. Okay. Every minute you spend doing that stuff is downside.
As opposed to before, where college was teaching you everything you needed to know.
I don't know, man. I'm not going to touch that one. But basically, break the glass. Do whatever you can do, because there's something about this moment that anything not spent on some sort of AGI pilled type life trajectory is a bad call.
To further that, amongst startup founders, what I've seen is if my thing is not scaling to 100 million in revenue within a year, it's a bad idea. I need to pivot away from it because Cursor and Lovable or whatever the startup of the moment is taking off, and I'm not on the right rocket ship.
It's such a good point. This is the fundamental tension in all the advice that we've ever given all the years, is that you have to simultaneously be impatient and ambitious and feel like you have a hair on fire thing to be ambitious. And at the same time, in your same brain, hold the idea that doing great work takes a long time. Isn't that so hard? And it's hard. And again, how many times have we talked to people that are frustrated that they're like, aren't you kind of contradicting yourself, Dalton? Aren't you?
Yes.
And it's yes, that is exactly right.
Yes.
You have to be insanely impatient to do great work and to push the world that wants to move slow to move fast.
Yes.
And you have to set yourself up to not freak out and quit.
Doing good work takes time. Solving hard problems takes time.
Yeah. And learning a skill takes time.
Yeah. It was really funny. I was talking to this founder, B2B company, and his kind of stated goal is a little palantry. He wants to go into a company, understand their data using AI and help them solve their biggest problem. And he said this thing to me that kind of blew my mind. He's like, yeah, we got in there, learned about their biggest problem. We learned what was causing it. That seemed too hard to solve. So we spent 4 months searching for other problems that'd be easier to solve. And it's like, and then I'm like, "And did you find it?" Like, nothing that important." And it's like, I almost think about it like, the way I describe it, and maybe I've done this in previous videos, is an SAT math problem. Like, people have been taught that when the SAT math problem gets too hard, they're probably doing it wrong. And so it's like, oh, you don't really need algebra for most SAT problems. Like, you're probably not thinking about the problem the right way. And I think people apply that to startups where it's like, oh, if something is too hard, that means I'm doing something wrong. I should be searching for an easy.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's the Peter Thiel quote? There was something like, he's like, everything that is valuable is hard, but not everything that is hard is valuable. The first part of that, like everything that is valuable is hard.
Well, it's funny you brought up Palantir, and I'm not saying I'm the world's biggest expert on it,
Yeah.
but man, I knew some early employees that went nowhere. Like they basically had to just toil in obscurity for many years. And now it's like a meme stock. And I think young people all know about it because of the stock price. But I think they started that company in like 2002. It's been like 23 or 24 years.
And I think for the first 10, maybe even 15 years, it was kind of belittled. Oh,
Yeah.
that's just the consulting company. Like, that's the gov tech. Like, that's not cool. And talk about folks who've
Yeah.
toiled on hard problems for a long time. This duality that you're talking about is important. My advice to people when they're encountering this is like, I don't sit well with this duality. I don't sit well with like, I've got to move fast and it's going to take a long time in parallel. So I just like to make it a serial problem. When I was young, starting a company, it feels like an emergency. We got to move really fast. I'm ignoring it's going to take time.
Yeah.
Now that I'm in the company, like, oh crap. Okay. Like, no, now that I'm committed, the thing's going, now I kind of move on to this other belief. Oh crap. Okay. Like, we're not gonna be able to solve any of the hard problems super fast. You gotta get to that second point.
Well, it's like you got to keep showing up. I was talking to someone about our videos. This is meta.
Yeah.
But basically, how many videos we made? Man, I think we made 60 or so far.
Yeah.
No one does that. Like a lot of people start YouTube channels and they make one or two.
Well, but it didn't blow up. It didn't blow up. That didn't go viral.
But like to actually build something that matters to people, you have to like keep doing it. And so to tie this into advice for AGI and all that good stuff, I mean, it is great to be impatient. It's great to want to drop everything and learn the tools.
Yes.
But you have to combine that with a willingness to sit with something and to do great work. It's going to take a while. And so whether that's school, whether that's job stuff, whether that's startup stuff, I was reading something by this guy recently. I think he called it the casinofication of modern capitalism. And how many young folks are used to the way they implicitly are trained to believe that the way you build wealth is from sports gambling. It's a huge part of being young. Crypto, stock gambling, zero dated options, like all this stuff is all kind of casino stuff. And so if all of your norms are the way to get rich is to just make short-term bets, and people that made money from short-term bets, kind of what we're saying is not going to land for you. You actually may know more people in your real life that made money from short-term bets than long-term bets.
Yes. Real money for most people is sports betting, winning money. I was talking to a founder about this, and the quote unquote anecdote I tried to give him to this feeling in his head was just like, look at the 20 software companies that you respect the most, and just like, tell me which one of those blew up super fast. Like which one was like, they made it in a year. He's like, none. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, come on. Like, because to me, this also happens in startups so much where it's like, oh, well, they raised a Series A in 2 months. And I'm like, when did Series A become the endpoint? Like, when did that become the like victory, like run through the line, get the gold medal point? Like, it never, like, raising a Series A means you have a 90% chance of death.
I think it's a little higher, but
There we go. Great. At least 90% chance of death, could be higher, depending on which investor.
I think
it might round to 100%.
I think we're gonna do better than that. I think we're gonna do better than that.
But anyways, and the thing that triggers this for me was a conversation I had with some very smart technical founders coming out of Stanford maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And they said this line to me that I will never forget. We were taught that all consumer startups suck and that it's only possible to build a B2B company. Any Stanford administration listening, Maybe they're misquoting you. But anyways, it was so interesting because it's almost like they wanted to be given the rules to win the game. Like they were so seeking, like, please give me a framework. If I do A, B, C,
Yeah.
and D, I win. And this kind of nugget slotted right. It's like, regardless of what I'm interested in, slot A is it has to be a B2B SaaS company. Like, and slot B is this, and slot C is this. And then like, if I do that, I win.
It's such a good point because so many people think that there's an answer, there's a secret, and that we have it. People like us have it.
Yeah.
I think if you watch our videos, we tell you what we know.
Yeah.
I don't think there's like a clip you could take out of one of the videos where like, oh, they said the secret.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm sure you get these emails too, but there's a lot of people that are like, the advice that you give in 15 minutes will change everything. Can you imagine actually believing that talking to us for 15 minutes would help whatever someone's problems are?
Well, I'll say, especially after all these videos.
Yeah, I mean, what are we going to say?
The likelihood in 15 minutes they're going to say more than.
But the point is, I think people think that there's like an optimal path or set of directions.
Yes.
Like this is a video game and there's like a cheat guide.
Yes.
Here's how you get to here's how you get through the maze. And that if someone just tells you how to get through the maze, it's like really trivial.
Yeah.
And it just bears repeating over and over again. The people that made it through the maze gritted through it. And it wasn't that someone gave them a really easy hack.
I love seeing in this video game frame. There's the cheat code in the video game, right? Like, oh, you get more lives, you get to warp to the end. And then there's the guidebook that's just like, here's exactly how to do every step. I think neither of them apply in startups.
Yeah.
Like, and I think when people search for them, specifically that guidebook, I think the cheat book is, we talked about that with crypto and stuff. I think that guidebook, that's what I'm kind of starting to call the MBAification of startup founders, where it's kind of like MBAs were originally created to train middle managers.
Yep.
And if you're bringing a middle manager into a company, there is a guidebook. There's a guidebook on how to get in. There's a guidebook on what to do. There's a guidebook on how to get promoted.
Yeah, it's like teaching you the fundamentals of finance.
Yep.
Teaching you the fundamentals of management.
Yes.
Like it was like General Motors, right? It was basically these really big companies needed to hire middle managers.
Yes.
And so these were trade schools.
These are trade schools for middle managers.
Yeah.
And they would fund the business school. Like they would donate money to start this thing up. And I think that like that has been transposed on this startup thing, which was always a extremely high risk, irregular, plans need to change all the times, luck based. Like it was, I can't think of anything more opposite than being a middle manager at GM. And what frustrates me is that everyone knows there's no guidebook to being Michael Jordan, right? Like everyone knows, like, you can do everything he did and, just like, but yet people cause themselves to believe, no, if I just follow this set of rigid best practices, successful company comes out the back. And it's like, no, I understood this being a belief of MBA folks. Right? If you go to business school for 2 years, it'll infect you. This is now young technical founders are being taught this stuff. It's so frustrating because it's kind of like these rules and best practices won't save you. Like you're still gonna have to do something extremely hard and be lucky. And it's gonna be at the limit of your abilities. There's no guidebook for that.
As a quick aside, I remember the story. This band in England made a guidebook on how to write a #1 single.
Okay.
And they sold it as a book. And that one band actually did it and tried it and it worked.
Okay.
And the song that they made was Chumbawamba Tub Thumping. And it was like a satirical book, but they did it literally where they're like, here's how you write a #1 single. And I guess Chumbawamba followed the book and wrote a #1 hit single.
And by the way, I'm sure they made a lot of money on that book after that single. But I think that like maybe, to close for the advice to young people, I always tell founders like, make sure that you're having fun. Because to your point about you're gonna have to stick with it for a long time, I have not seen people be able to stick with hard challenges for a long time when they're not having fun. And when they are having fun, I've seen them do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Like literally crazy.
How many times have we seen people do good work that they're proud of fast? It's almost like being able to take pride in your work and being proud of your body of work involves putting many years into it.
Yes.
And that, you almost want to normalize that. Or you got to tell people, yeah, this is what's normal is sustained periods of long work to do something good and not hitting a lottery ticket.
And I think even in this age of or era of AI, you have time to do great work. Like we are in the very beginning of it. So with that, thanks, Dalton.
Thank you.